don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. The air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. And we sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman, because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. So, I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Yeah! Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. This is the 307th episode of the Political Spotlight. I am your host, Kristopher H. Bilbrey. Wonderful to be back in the studio. Welcome. Thank you for those of you that are here and joining in and watching, whether you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on Rumble or X or Facebook. Welcome. Please do your part to help the show out from whichever area that you're on. Either share the show if you're on Twitter or Facebook. Hit the thumbs up if you're on YouTube or Rumble. Do whatever it is on X, whatever. I don't know. You sound healthy today. No. Yes and no. I don't have as much of it up here. Now it's all settled into my chest like a kind of COVID-y pneumonia inside the chest, like phlegmy, like I can cough and it's like chunky, so it's not very good. You'll have to excuse me. I do have a mute button here, a sneeze button, and I will try to hit that when I got to do some of the crazy stuff, but you'll have to bear with me. I am feeling better. I haven't had a headache today. I've got less of the sinus stuff. I sound better, but I've still got a lot of the cough. So, yeah, it is what it is. Welcome. Listen, I didn't know what to call the show. Honestly, just seconds before we went live, I had no idea. And for those of you that actually do the things where you get in and you look at the description to try to get an understanding, it's not there. I know that Alva does that. I know a couple of you do that. Sound a lot less like Alex Jones, Alex Frogman. Yeah. So I apologize for that, ladies and gentlemen, but I quickly decided, rather than trying to force something, because last night I tried to force it. Last night, if you are one of those weird people that get in and really take a look, a lot of people don't see it. Last night's show, at the time that we broadcasted and went live, was called Communication transparency and accountability, politics. And then at the end of the program, last night's show was titled Early Voting, Record Request, and MFD Cheating Scandal. And I went in and I changed the title, I changed the thumbnail, and I changed the description. This is why I hate having to set that stuff up ahead of time. This is why I hate the idea of titles. And it's why I hate the idea of the thumbnails, because I'm coming to this from a world of loving talk radio, and on radio, you just go on the radio and there you are, and it's at a time, and we're very much like radio. We're just not on the radio. We are on the interwebs. And so that's, I literally just tonight, I was fighting back and forth. I was like, damn, if I just didn't have titles and I just called it the episode, my life would be so much better. But you guys love it, so I'll do it for you. I'll do it for you. I've got no problem. No, I'm not talking about the show notes. There's a thing. I definitely do show notes. I'm just talking about there's no place for description really of what, like, that's all afterward stuff. I would be fine if all of this stuff was afterwards. Now, there are some shows that we walk into, and I know, like, literally every second. It don't matter what you guys say, and I apologize. There are times, folks, that I don't even turn you guys on. I let Kate deal with you, and she'll put up what I need to see or point if it's something big. But it's like a show where I black out and I give you good stuff, but it's all there. Well, we are very much in the calm before the storm still, and I keep waiting for it to hit. And we go through this every election. Every election, I always count down to when we get to 100 days before the election, that's a biggie. 90 days before the election, that's a biggie. Then when we get to 60 days before the election, that's a biggie. And then when we get to 30 days before the election, folks, that is a biggie in and of itself there. That's real big, and it's crazy. But then, ladies and gentlemen, when we get down to like 20 and 15, things are going crazy. Things are getting wild. However, there's always this period where right before things get wild, you really don't know what's going on. And there's a couple days of like calm, and everything's normal and everything's peaceful, and you don't really know what's happening. And so that's kind of where we're at. Now, I keep thinking, like, each night when we get off of the show, tomorrow the shit's going to hit the fan, and tomorrow it's going to be crazy. And that's that. Now, fortunately, today, we still are in a little bit of calmness, so that's cool. So I thought, instead of naming the show something that I will name it ahead of time, and then regretting that later and going back in and adjusting it afterwards, I will instead name it ... And I didn't know if I did 4 dots or 3 dots or 2 dots or whatever. And I was going to name it To Be Announced, but I looked and we already have a show called To Be Announced. And that wasn't because I was going to do it. That had something to do with actually what we were talking about. So I couldn't call it To Be Announced. And To Be Determined was too close to that. So I just went in and put the dots in. Well, when I came on with Kate, because there were 4 asterisks there, Kate said, "What 4-letter word is the title of the show tonight?" And I said, "Oh, nothing. I didn't know what to call it." And I was telling her like what the deal was and what's going on. And I was like, "So feel free to come on in because we're just floating. We're floaters tonight." And she was like, "So tonight we're shit. We're shit. We're the floaters. Floaters." And then it dawned on me perfectly. She said it. That's the name. So tonight's episode, when we get done, will be called, I don't know, Floater or something like that. We'll figure it out. She'll tell me again at some point, but we will call it that. We have, again, another night. I thought last night's show was horrible. When I woke up, I was at my grandparents' house last night. And when I woke up today, I was talking to my grandparents, and my grandpa said, last night's show was really good. You know, they normally don't watch the entire thing. They go to bed a little bit before we get to the end. And my grandpa said, I stayed up and watched like the majority of the show. It was really good. He was really interested in what we were talking about last night. So I was like, and a couple of other people told me that too. So I thought, okay. Also, real quick, while we're on that topic, for those of you that were very interested in the Muncie Fire Department thing, I have not forgot you. I am still in the process of getting those uploaded. I actually have the two judges' orders already on Facebook, but I have them private because I'm in the process of writing the little post that goes along with it. And I will have that finished after the show tonight. So as soon as we're done, I will finish up that post and get that up there so you guys can see that. And you guys can see it. Listen, again, the MFD, here's the message, and I'm going to post it. 1, I do not like Troy Delaney. I am not a fan of Troy Delaney. I am not a fan of Troy Delaney for no other reason than just a personal beef. Then he attacked me after I had been very good to him in the fire department. And he attacked me over political crap. And I personally don't like him. He just is an oddball. He's a weirdo. That being said, I am present enough in my mind to realize I don't like the guy. But let me tell you, if my house was burning down, I'm going to come and I'm going to shoot out your eye. No one has ever told me that, asshole. E-Jack. But I see it and I understand it. And that's exactly why I am now so shitty to you. That's hilarious, dude. I'm pulling him up here real quick so we can. That's great. Let's see here. Ralphie Parker. Fudge. Let me get it pulled up here so we can all see it here together. Here. That's beautiful. Here we go, folks. Oh, come on. Hold on. see what happens when I'm not in the studio and I'm not using my computer. It gets a little rusty. It gets a little rusty. Sorry, here we go. We're getting the bugs worked out. All right. There it is. My eyes aren't blue like that. I don't have blue eyes like that, but yeah. Maybe we can work on getting a leg lamp behind me. I love it. Yeah, I love the movie too. Oops, I brought Kate up instead of putting Ralphie down. Hello. Sorry. Oh God. Okay, so yeah, thank you for that, Ejac. Okay, so no, listen. Sorry. Let's get this working. Okay. Thank God. No, back to what I was saying. I don't like him, but I will tell you this. If my house was on fire, if my parents' house was on fire, if my grandparents' house was on fire, if I was in a car wreck, if you call someone who's having cardiac arrest, I want Troy Delaney going there. Am I lagging, Kate? Like badly? Is the sound lagging? Okay, so the video's lagging, but the sound's not. Okay, that's all that matters. So yeah. Look, I'm not a big fan of his, but I don't know anybody else on the Muncie Fire Department. I mean, we got a lot of good guys, but Troy Delaney knows his stuff. He's good at what he does. He is hardcore. And if you're going to ask me who should train the firemen and the EMTs of tomorrow, I'm going to tell you Troy Delaney. Even after this ordeal, it should be Troy Delaney. I don't care. I don't care what happened. Troy Delaney should be the person in charge of instructing. Okay, you don't like some of the things he was doing. Let him know that. Tell him that. He was in the military. He's a soldier. He's someone who's good with taking orders. Tell him, hey, dumbass, use these questions and answers to prep them, not these questions and answers. And don't have students give you answers or whatever. Like, to me, that's just not a big deal. I'm going to tell you. Channel 13 broke this story last year. Channel 13 broke the story on the Muncie Fire cheating fiasco scandal. However, it was yours truly who told you first that this was not about cheating, but rather it was about someone not getting a promotion that they felt that they were owed, and they didn't like the fact that Troy Delaney was going to get the promotion. Now, when I want to come back here to this comment, because when David Williams says he cheated for 15 plus years, I want to be real clear what that means. Troy Delaney did not somehow use information or knowledge to get money or gain a leg up in the job, that he was dealing with. He did not somehow gain something by using nefarious methods. In saying he was cheating, what they are meaning is he would help newbies with the answers to questions. But most importantly, you have to understand. You have to understand. I wish I'm going to see. I know somebody that has one of these books. I'm going to see if I can get the book and show you. It's not like what we're trying to talk. I was talking to my grandpa about this the other day, and my grandpa said, with these cell phones, what goes on in school when you're in fourth grade or third grade or second grade, and they're saying do 5 times 2. What's 5 times 2? And the little boy's in the back of the room, and he pulls out a smartphone and he says, Google, what's 5 times 2? And Google comes on and tells him that it's 10. Well, why even go to school? Well, and what I told my grandpa is it's not about getting the answer. It's about showing the work. It's about showing how you got to the answer. So, Stumblefoot, I completely understand what you're saying, and I respect what you're saying, and I understand it. And as Americans, and as human, and as men and women, we're brought up to not like cheaters. We don't like cheaters. We don't want cheaters. Cheaters never win. Cheaters never prosper. But you've got to understand, it's not. I don't like that term. And I think that it's not really fair in how they purposefully did that to put the spin on it, to make this seem bigger, better, badder, worse, because it's WTHR. They've got to, they want people to click on and watch. Ooh, cheating in the fire department. First and foremost, let me be very clear. This is a common practice in and among public safety, police departments, fire departments, your attorneys, your doctors, any welders, anybody that would do that. And I don't believe Stumblefoot says, I understand what he was doing, but it defeats the purpose if you're purposefully trying to figure out how to game the state's test. And I don't think it's that. First and foremost, we have to understand this. So technically, the test that they're taking, one of the tests, I don't believe, and I'll have to talk with Rachel about this, who used to be the EMS chief of Muncie Fire Department. I'll have to find out. One of these tests don't even technically matter. What now? You've lost me, Chris. You're minimizing if remember oath they take. No. Folks, listen. No. Come back to me. Listen, what this man is doing is not, you cannot put it on the same line as a police officer violating someone's First Amendment rights. You cannot put this on the same category as somebody faking transcripts and not going to medical school, but they get hired and they get all these perks and they get paid a lot of money and they get access to script card and they're writing themselves and their friends a bunch of narcotics. That's not, this is such a minor thing you got to understand what has happened here. The judge uncovered through this trial something, in my opinion, that is much worse. We have firemen who are actually lying about things to attempt to put themselves or their mates, their friends, the people they're close with in better position. And what that's doing, in my opinion, is worse than an instructor who's working with who's working, oh yeah, that's great, who's working with students and saying, here's the exam. What is it? Is it the SAT? It's like taking the SATs. You can go get an SAT practical handbook that gives you every answer that's on the SATs, and you study it and you look at it, and there's nothing. It's like flashcards. It's like the written driver's test versus the practical test. You can go get the handbook to take the written test, and every answer is in the book, and you flip through it. That's probably the best example, because when you go take the test, and I've done this here probably within the last 10 years, it was when I moved and something happened, and I failed to go back on a birthday, so I had to go in and take a test. And literally, me having had my driver's license since, my learner's permit when I was 15 and a half, however old you are, getting my license right at 16, having been a police officer on the road and knowing the traffic, I failed the written test twice. I went and took the thing, failed it, went and got a book, looked through it, memorized what I thought was the big answers, took the test, nothing that I memorized was on it, failed it, and had to go back and think, all right, now knock this off. And there I studied the actual book and then went and took the test and passed it. Here's the thing. Here's what's much scarier. What you got to look at as much scarier is someone who could take the written test. Say someone that's not in Muncie. Say somebody's down in Evansville, takes the written test, but flunks or cheats their way through the field stuff. That's what's scary. The field stuff is what is real. And this would be a problem if, say, for example, he was just signing them off and saying, oh yeah, John Doe did 8 hours of training today, and John Doe didn't actually do 8 hours ride time. Or John Doe did a 24-hour shift, but John Doe didn't actually do a 24-hour shift. That's what would be scary, bad, dangerous, and you would want to put those people in a different category, whatever. This test thing is like a study group, and that's what they do. So I'm going to get the book. I will get this book from Rachel. I think if she's got it, and I'll show it to you guys because it's very important to me. What's very important again is, number one, for those of you that disagree with me, first and foremost, there is a punishment in line for what you're doing. First off, that punishment is not set up to completely remove somebody from a career. The punishment is set up to smack them on the hands, rehabilitate them, and put them back in the field. And so that's how he should have been handled. And that's what the judge said in this course. What they did to him technically didn't do that. Originally, what they did was stripped him of everything for the next 7 years and basically said, you're done being a fireman for the rest of your life, anywhere, everywhere. And so that's what they did. The punishment did not fit the crime. It's like, for example, he, in the criminal element, like he did an OWI without hurting anyone, and he went to prison for 35 years. That's like what happened here. It way did not fit the crime. However, through this further investigation, through the administrative court hearing, we found that there are a number of firemen that lied under oath that the judge said is simply not credible. And I think that is a bigger issue here. And it's an issue for the fire chief. It's an issue for the city of Muncie. It should be an issue for Mayor Ridenour. And it's something that's going to have to come forward and really quickly. So people are, because people need to know this. And this is not just some kind of blowhard deal. This is a serious deal. The firemen in which I am talking about, because it is important that you guys are aware, the firemen that were listed here was Caleb Maddox. Caleb Maddox was one of the firemen that was listed. That was not credible. That was found to be, telling things inappropriately, not true under oath. I mean, you tell me what that's called. The judge never said that specific word, but when someone tells me that they're under oath and they're testifying to a judge, and the judge says, well, that person wasn't telling the truth and they're not credible, to me, I can only come up with one word in my mind that fits. Chris Short is another fireman that was said about. There was another fireman called Braden Fields. And so, in my opinion, Delaney's doing punishment for what he's done. He's been doing punishment. So even for the people that disagree with me, and first and foremost, Delaney has said, okay, if this is what I'm not supposed to do, I won't do that. No one ever told me this is how I was trained to do it. This is how we've done it. I won't do it this way. And I fully believe that he means that. He won't do it that way anymore. My question is, will Maddox still be untruthful? Will Braden Fields be untruthful? Will Chris Short be untruthful? I mean, these are people that are in and around places, they're in your home. They are around narcotics. And look, I don't know those people from Adam, and they could be the best people in the world. I'm just telling you what the court ruling said. And I'm telling you that it's a problem that the Muncie Fire Department is going to have to deal with. It's not a good thing. Wasn't this the paramedic exam? It's not the paramedic. It's one of them is a, so there are multiple different levels of certifications. And one of these was for the fire, some kind of fire department certification for like ropes courses and things. And one of these was for there's a national and a state level certification. One of these was for a state level certification, or maybe it was not, maybe it was the national. I can't remember, but it was one or the others of these. What is punishment? He didn't have to go to work and got paid. Well, so look, first and foremost, I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying. I don't like those rules, but that's what the contract is. The contract is what the contract is. If we don't like those, we've got to put people in line that will do different things and say different things about the contract. You got to determine, your elected officials are going to negotiate, determine what that is with the union leaders and yada, yada, yada. They're going to come up with a contract, and it is what it is. It's whatever the punishment is in there. Also, he was stripped. He's on probation. He won't be able to instruct or get any further academic classes for himself. He won't be able to advance his career. He's on probation for 5 years, things like that. So, it's that's, there are some punishments there. And I'm going to tell you, again, I don't like Troy Delaney, so I'm not out here like, it's not like it's not like me defending my brother here. Someone like Troy Delaney, yeah, I bet he sees that as a punishment. I think he sees that as a punishment, not being able to go to work. Yeah. Basically, it embarrassed him. Let me tell you, look, he's like Rain Man, kind of like he's like Rain Man medic guy. He said that I've hid out for a year, and I believe that this probably nearly crushed him, because this is the one, he's the little kid that, like, wanted to be a fireman at the time he was 3 years old, and this is the only thing he's ever been and wanted to be. So yeah, I think it's, most people are like, hey, I don't have to go to work, I'm going to get paid, this is wonderful. I should have been getting in trouble years ago. To him, I don't think it's like that. So I will get those rulings put up, and I will get the books, and talk with some people more in the know, and get that stuff on here. We'll try to get that here coming up soon. Yeah, good time to start a podcast. Yes. Hey, and if he's good enough, man, hell, you start making more money on the podcast than the fire department. He's like, screw it, I don't want to go back. I could come up with a good name or two for a firefighting podcast. Okay, so from there, I want to talk to you guys about something very important. All right, this is very, very, very important. All right. Tomorrow's episode. So first and foremost, let me pull out my handy dandy. Well, first and foremost, let me tell you, I don't know which one of these is right. Holy crap. I got it right on the first try. And I put that up there blindly. There are 21 days until Election Day, folks. General Election Day is Tuesday, November 5th, 2024. There are 21 days left. All right. I was talking about that at the beginning of the show. That's a big deal. And we're going to talk about some national aspects here a little bit later in the show, and some state level things. But man, 21 days. All right. We're going to start doing, I'm not going to do a heavy rotation of political candidates this go. I'm so blah with a lot of our people that I'm just like, all right, I'm going to do a couple. I think we're going to, I was just right, like literally as I was going on, I was talking back and forth with Susan Dillon, and we're going to try to get her on. I'm going to talk with her tomorrow. We're going to try to get her on tomorrow. Not tomorrow, tomorrow I'm going to talk to her about coming on. It'll probably be next week. I believe I'm also going to have on next week the candidate that is running against J.D. Prescott. That is, what's his name? Chuck Brown.
John
Brown. John Brown.
Not Brown. It's
John Buster Bartlett.
Bartlett.
That's what it was. I forgot. And that's no offense on him. I just am having one of those minds. John Bartlett. Yeah, I know him. We talk to him frequently. We're going to have him on sometime next week. I will also be having on next week, ladies and gentlemen, for a first time in a very long time. For the first time ever under this banner, we will have on Mr. J.D. Prescott. April Fools. Kate laughed. I wanted to see. Yeah, we're not going to have J.D. Prescott on. I never get to do. You know what? You know why I love April Fools and I hate April Fools? I love it because I love the idea of doing practical jokes and punking people. I love that. I love it. But it's stupid. You can't do it on April Fools because everyone knows. So I just always try to do other things throughout the year and then attribute it back to April Fools. But like today, it was, Tuesday, October 15th. So there you go. No, listen, I'm going to be honest. I would love nothing more than to get that gutless man-child on here and to talk with him and to ask him questions. That would be a thing of beauty. I would love that. If I could ever swing it to make that happen, my, oh my, oh my, oh my, we would do that in a second. Clinton. Oh God, I was going to say that as soon as I was going to do that as soon as I came on, and then we got talking about other things. No, as of now, JD probably is not coming on. I would love for him to. It would be interesting, whatever. This is where I'm interested in what your thoughts are, folks. So tomorrow's episode 308, will be Mr. Micah Beckwith. We will have Beckwith on tomorrow. However, unfortunately, Jeff, sure they would, and I would think and expect nothing more. I wouldn't be too easy, so yeah, that would be fantastic. So we're going to have Beckwith on tomorrow. There are ups and downs and pros and cons with this. First and foremost, we will do a regular live show at back up. So, all right, in your world, tomorrow at 6 p.m., we here will be live streaming a Muncie City Finance Committee meeting. The second to last of the Muncie City Finance Committee meetings will be held tomorrow at 6 p.m. They're going to handle the last of what they've got to do. Apparently tomorrow is when they're going to announce what, if anything, they're going to be cutting. I'm going to go ahead and tell you my prediction. We got a really weird council right now. So we had in the last 4 years, we had a 9-person council that was made up of 5 Republicans and 4 Democrats. But the Republicans didn't lead, but I wouldn't necessarily call it a Democratic-led council either. It was honestly a council that did the will of the people. In my opinion, it did what it was supposed to do. I didn't have much issue with like 90%, 95% of what they did. I felt they did wonderfully. Now, this council bizarrely swung back the other way. We now have a council that is a 9-person council that is a 5-4 council led with the Democrats. So we have a Democratic-led council with a Democrat president, because last time we had a Republican quote-unquote led council, but a Democrat president for 3 of the 4 years. Now we have a Democratic-led council with a Democratic president, but the Democrats aren't ruling the roost. They're not pushing back on a lot of things that Ridenour's doing. They're not really sticking him to things. While Nora will make him look like a fool and make his controller look like a fool, they are not doing things to reel in his behavior. So it's very funky. And my sources have told me that there are quite a number of counselors that want to vote the budget down. Vote the budget down. They want to send a message to Ridenour wanting to vote the budget down. What are you doing? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's right. That's right. That being said, I'm hearing that the Grand High financial, what? Kate, what do they call the money person in Game of Thrones?
The Master of Coin.
The Master of Coin. That's what what's his name used to say. I still need to go back and find Board of Works meetings from when Dennis was in office, because his controller would always come up and say really weird crap like that. Anyway, Nora Powell has said no, she doesn't want to do that. She wants to pass the budget as is. Now, that's what I'm hearing. She's not told me that. I don't know. That's not a direct quote. So, my question is why? Why would they do that? Why would they not make any cuts? Because here's the thing. Hey, see it, E-Jack. Why would they not do that? Pass it as is. That floors me, because keep in mind, they are being like, yeah, we're good. But Nora has said, no, you're not good. And there's some questionable issues. Here's the thing. There's a train of thought. There's a train of thought that Nora says, welp, we're in a bad way. You've got us in a bad way. And So this is what you presented, and we're going to give it to you. That's very good possibility. Maybe she wants to watch it all burn. She who shall not be named. That being said, to me, that doesn't work, because the moment that Nora and anyone else votes in favor of it, specifically if they vote in favor of it and it passes, they sign their name to the line too. So they own every bit of the disaster that comes from it. If they vote for it, they are also to blame. Yeah, that's right. While we're talking about the budget, I will tell you, I talked to my friend in Heron Point today, and he said that they're all for it. He's all for it. All for the annexation. He had heard about it, and from what they're hearing, nothing's going to change. The only thing that's going to change for them is their homeowners insurance is going to decrease, because they will finally have fire protection from the Muncie Fire Department, which will mean the fire times for if you pick up 911 and call for a fire truck or a paramedic or whatever, it will be there between 3 minutes and under versus the 11 minutes it currently is. 11 minutes, your house is gone. The difference between 3 minutes, a fire truck getting there in 3 minutes versus a fire truck getting there in 11 minutes is the difference between, just total loss. So they're all for it. Now, that still does not have anything to tell us anything about what's going to be happening county-wise versus city-wise, what the deal is here. My friend is actually going to go to one of the meetings. He and I are going to go this Friday. We're going to go to Kennedy Branch and partake in one of these public meetings. I'm going to live stream it. I'm sure they're not going to be happy about that, but we're going to be inside a public building. Womp, 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 womp. And they've put it in the paper as a public meeting. Womp, 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 womp. So we'll do some good old-fashioned live on location recording. So that's what's going on there. So tomorrow, we got way off topic. Tomorrow at 6 o'clock, you guys will be able to see the Muncie City Council Finance Committee meeting right here. And then tomorrow night at 9 p.m., we will come on and I'll go, hello, we're live, yada, da, 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 episode 308, whatever. Okay. And then I'm going to say, and so earlier today, we did an interview with our guest, Micah Beckwith, and we're going to listen to that now. And I'll go chunk, and I'm going to play a video, and I will completely go away. I'll still be here. Kate will be here, but we'll put a video up on screen, and you guys will watch the interview. Unfortunately, because of time constraints, apparently, we could not get Beckwith on at 9 p.m. I've been fighting and back up because I don't want to make it look like I've been chasing this guy down. This guy reached out to me First and foremost, he reached out to me after he won, and we had him on. He won on Saturday. We had him on. What event is going on at 9 p.m. on Wednesday? No event.
No, I mean for him.
Oh, I don't know.
It's 9 o'clock at night on a weekday.
Yeah, maybe church.
Shit.
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. That's a really good question. I don't know. So after he won, they called here asking us to come on. Micah Beckwith did. We had him on, and it was a good time. We asked him questions. He answered. We started to leave. He answered more questions. He answered all the questions, and it was what it was. We got off, and then he got inundated by the swampy. And Brandon and I started questioning him like out in social media world, and they weren't really answering the questions. And about a month afterwards, he texted me back and was like, hey, let's come have me back on the show. And I was like, okay, great. Let me know when. And then like a week later, he was like, hey, why don't we have me back on the show? And I was like, okay, you let me know Sunday through Thursday. You know, we're live all the time, bro. Just let me know when. And then silence. I didn't hear from him, and I didn't hear from him, and I didn't hear from him, and I didn't hear from him. And I couldn't hear from him, and there was nothing. Could not get a hold of him, could not get a hold of him, could not get a hold of him. So finally I said, screw it. So then finally he reached back out to me, and he was like, hey, why don't you have me back on the show? And I was like, okay, tell me when right now, when? And he said, okay, next Tuesday. And that Tuesday happened to be the time of the Kamala Harris, Donald Trump debate. And I said, hey, we can't do it Tuesday. That's the debate. You know, I'm going to want to watch it. I'm sure you're going to want. He was like, oh yeah, I completely forgot. He was like, okay, we'll reschedule. I was like, okay. We never rescheduled. And then he wouldn't answer the phone again. And finally I texted him. I'm like, dude, literally, he was like, I'm booked up between here and the elections. It's not going to work. And I'm like, what? He was like, well, you know, he was like, all my Thursdays between here and now, all of my Thursdays between here and the election are taken. I said, okay. What about your Sundays and your Mondays and your Tuesdays and your Wednesdays? Also, what about your Fridays and your Saturdays? Like, I'm willing to come on anytime, any day. You know, we go live. He's like, oh, you're live that much? I'm like, bro, yeah, you know, dude. You know when we're on, man. Well, so, yeah, Kate. So, I finally said, listen, 24 hours, because I wanted to get him back. I wanted to get him on the record. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Tell me when we can do it. And then he said, what are you doing on the 16th at 9 a.m.? And I said, interviewing you. So we will be interviewing him tomorrow at 9 a.m. 9 a.m. in the morning. We'll be interviewing him, and we will then post it in the evening, and we'll be able to interrupt it and come and talk to you guys and put your comments up and still talk to you, and we can talk about it. Now, let me tell you, that would be interesting. I've been waiting. I'm going to send him a message at like 6:45 and be like, hello, because he's an early riser. So I'm going to be like, hello, just confirming our appointment. So, my question to all of you out there in commenting land, do any of you have any questions that you think that we should ask him? Are there any questions that you would like to know from the boy wonder, Dick Grayson, if you will? I've got a couple of questions that are fairly timely, but I'm not going to spill them until tomorrow. But of course, we're working on some stuff. So if you have any questions from Beckwith that you would like to get answered, you know, one of my things is going to be, have you heard that? Grizzly, I love it. So what's interesting to me is you've all recently heard that Micah Beckwith stated that as lieutenant governor, he would fire anyone that worked for him that had pronouns in their email signature. So do you know what I'm referring to? Do you guys know what I'm referring to? So, like, my email signature, when I send an email, my email signature says, thank you very much, Kristopher H. Bilbrey, political commentator, a political host of the Political Spotlight studio line, and I leave my number, and I put team Brandon Rudd, Kate Thornburg, links to all of our stuff, copyright Lighthouse Studio, and then our thing. So I put all of that stuff up.
I added my pronouns for you, Christopher.
Yeah, I see that, Secretary Kate. I see that. Now, no, listen. Here's the deal. So here's the thing. Rob Kendall and I have been arguing back and forth about this. And we've been going back and forth about this. Look, I'm a libertarian, conservative, constitutionally minded person. Live and let live. Let everybody be who they're going to be. I don't care. Let's quit talking about it. Let's just quit talking about it. All right. Let's just let it be whatever it is, rock and roll, whatever, whoever, whatever. Okay. Like whatever. The thing is, he comes out with this thing and he says this. First and foremost, was there anybody that was confused on what side of this argument he was on before he said this thing? Like, prior to him saying this, was there anybody that wondered, I wonder if Micah Beckwith is in line with thinking about the trans rights movements? Or did everybody pretty much figure that he was already like hardline against it? Like, I kind of feel like I kind of feel like this was something that everybody already knew. So my question is, why 25 days before the election would you throw something out there that would be so incendiary that would cause a shitstorm? Keep in mind, he's not even the top of the ticket. So it's cool if he wants to tank his own campaign. But what's he doing to Braun's campaign? Like, I don't like Braun, but man, I really kind of feel for the guy because the Republicans don't like him. The Democrats don't like him. The Libertarians don't like him. His running mate doesn't like him. It's really, he is running against all sides here. But my whole thing on this was, why? Why say this? Why bring this up? What did this have to do with anything? For the love of God, like, what did this have to do with why? And then we find out that he's like, he was like at some like Martin County, backwoods county, Indiana, Lincoln Day dinner. And he decided while he was there to throw this out. And it was like, it served no purpose. It didn't carry their agenda forward. I just don't know. I don't really know. You know what I mean? It was just really strange. And then you've got like Rob Kendall getting on and doing what Rob does when he's like, and all of the liberals are going crazy because like they care about who's putting what pronouns in their email address. And I'm like, no, dude, like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, it's not like that. Okay. It's just insane. In my opinion, just shut up about it. There's more important stuff to be talking about on all sides. You're not going to hear me say like the Democrats are stupid, but you are going to hear me say, wait a minute, is Micah Beckwith a conservative candidate for lieutenant governor talking about violating someone's First Amendment right? Is that what he's doing? Because I've got a big problem there. All right? I don't care. I don't care who you are. If you're violating the First Amendment, I've got a problem with that. Okay? And so interesting, today on Facebook, Rob Kendall had posted, I guess this was a couple days. Rob Kendall said, your life will not end and society will somehow continue if you just sign your emails with your name and don't include your pronouns. Yeah, look, I agree. I think it's stupid. That's stupid. It's stupid. But who gives a shit? Why is that anybody? Why would anybody care about that? Well, so So I commented back to Rob and I said, Andrew Smith, a libertarian, and I love what he said. I think he's libertarian. Maybe he's Democrat. I don't know. I think he's libertarian. He said, the way I look about it, any policy is what would happen. The way to look at any policy is what would happen if the tables were turned. Because once the toothpaste is out of the tube, it invites retaliation. What would happen if an employer compelled people to put pronouns in their signatures and threatened to fire those who didn't and who didn't acknowledge other people's pronouns? We know the very same people that are cheering Beckwith here for what he said would be screaming about cancel culture and how this would be an affront to free speech if that were happening. No different than how the same people reacted towards the vax mandates. In this case, Beckwith's plan is a First Amendment violation, as it is a state actor compelling censoring speech. You can't complain about cancel culture and then turn around and try to cancel everyone you disagree with when they express their ideas. To which Rob said, so you don't think an employer, which he will be effectively, no, has the right to dictate how employees operate? Wow, how very unlibertarian of you. Yeah, he's a libertarian. And many other libertarians I've seen on this topic. I thought you guys were free market people who believed in the ability to go find another job if you don't like how your boss is making you work. Rob is very wrong here. Beckwith is not the boss. He's the employee, demeaning other employees. We're the boss. That's shocking to me. I said, Rob, you know better than this. This has to be, I said, this has now put Braun and Beckwith at odds over this, and it's just dumb. There's more important things to be concerned with. Rob said, I know better than what? You think someone's life will end and society won't continue if they aren't allowed to put pronouns in their email signature? I said, no, I'm just saying this is an issue that, was this an issue that he needed to dive into right now the way that he did? He said, no one who votes based on if they're allowed to put pronouns in their state email account was voting for Braun anyway. Who cares? I said, my whole thing is I just can't help but think there's maybe something more important he and we could all be focusing on. And I then said, yes, Rob, who cares? That's exactly right. Who cares? Huh? Why is this a thing? It floors me. It absolutely floors me. Now, what's funny, what's interesting here is Mike Braun has actually weighed in on this. Had to weigh in on this, apparently. And this is a whole big thing. The GOP lieutenant governor candidate Micah Beckwith told a group of Republicans recently that if elected, he would fire or demote state employees who included their pronouns in their email signatures. A behavioral legal expert says it's discriminatory and could open his office up to lawsuits, as Kayla Dwyer, a reporter for the Indy Star, says. Beckwith made the comments at a Monroe County Republican Party in early October. On Monday, the head of his ticket, gubernatorial nominee and U.S. Senator Mike Braun, gave a curt statement to the Indy Star expressing disapproval. My administration will hire and fire employees based solely on the merit and the commitment to delivering efficient, effective state government and to making life better and more affordable for Hoosiers period, Braun wrote. The Advocate first reported on the remarks Friday, which came from a video of the event uploaded to the Bloomingtonian. Why Beckwith brought it up the pronouns. The comments were rooted in a conversation about whether there is a quote-unquote deep state within Indiana's state government. Beckwith believes there is, and he defined it as an unelected bureaucrats that are rooted deep in the system that have their own agenda, one that he describes as left-leaning, and who undermine the leadership of elected officials. What? I don't even need to read this article any further. Listen to me. Listen to me. Do I believe there's such a thing as the deep state in national government politics? Yes. Do I believe that it is liberal or conservative? I don't. I believe it is evil. It is whatever is. It's all things that are evil. Do I believe that there is a left-leaning deep state deep within inside Indiana government? Maybe. I don't know. I can't see them for all of the deep state right-leaning government and all of the in the open crazy right-leaning government. I can't see it for all of the Republicans that are screwing shit up. Why don't we deal with the Republicans that are screwing shit up first? We're Republicans. He's a Republican. Let's get out the shitty Republicans out of the way first, and then root out the 5 Democrats that are trying to take over the world from deep inside a bunker in Indianapolis. That's insane to me. If this man, look, this is scary to me. This is scary to me that we have Beckwith running in this position. We're going to talk about this tomorrow.
I'm sorry. I was over here rolling my eyes and making funny faces. And when I was asked what you were talking about, I told him that you said, Micah Beckwith seems to think that there's some kind of liberal deep state running everything here in Indiana. And the first words out of his mouth were pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, right. Whose hands are in the current governor's pockets? And GW says right here, and this is important. This is very important. Deep state is everywhere. If you don't believe that, you must have your eyes closed. This is not a matter of saying there is no deep state. Yes, that is a thing. But for governor candidate Mike Braun to have his lieutenant governor candidate Micah Beckwith having just faced down the very people that I'm talking about, to defeat them, to be in that position, now completely turning a blind eye to those people is the bigger issue. The fact that he is setting aside anything about the Republicans, and I get it, the reason he's doing it is because we are 21 days away from an election and he can't do anything to piss the Republicans off. Can't do anything to piss them off. You can't call us you can't call an orange an orange for fear of pissing off all of the billion other oranges that are going to vote for you. Here's the thing. Indiana's problem, folks, I'm going to tell you, it's not constitutionally conservative-minded people. It is the power-hungry, broken Republican cabal that is the HRCC. It is Todd Houston. It is, yes, GW. It's both sides. And the fact that he is now apparently blind to the very establishment that was trying to keep him down just 3 months ago. 2, 3, 4, June, however long ago June was. The fact that he's now turned his eye to that is a problem. And so that's one of the things I'm going to be talking to him about tomorrow. I'm going to be asking him. Yeah, right. Holcomb has an A+ with the Chinese government. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Would this be illegal? Beckwith doubled down on the last part in clarifying his comments to the Indy Star Monday. He said any adverse actions he might take against employees would be based on the merits of the job they're doing, not on their pronouns alone. That might not matter in court of law if an employee can show they are part of a protected class, such as gender identity, and have suffered an adverse employment action, such as firing or demoting. If he were to follow through, there would be pretty direct evidence. I think that he is discriminating on the basis of someone's gender, Indianapolis employment law attorney Sandra Blevins said. Title VII of the Civil Rights Act protects employees from discrimination on the basis of their gender identity or sexual orientation, as reinforced most recently in the U.S. Supreme Court decision of Bostock v. Clayton County. Now the problem is, if he actually fires someone for a just cause and they happen to be someone that is, what is going on here? All of a sudden music started playing. All right, there we go. We killed it.
Just keep going.
It was blaring in my ear. If he all of a sudden fires someone, then, for a reason, and they say are trans or they're gay or whatever, now it's, even if it's a valid reason, they're going to be like, look, he said this back in October when he was running, and this is what it's about. So it's just, I just don't think, and here's the thing. I'm backing Rainwater. I want Rainwater to win. Rainwater can win. He should win. We want him to win. I want him to win. Is Braun and Beckwith going to be the next governor, lieutenant governor? Hope not. But we do live in a super majority, super confused voting people that have short-term memory, people that are going to go in and be like, well, straight party, And so we've got this guy that 21 days before the election doesn't have anything more important to be focusing on. Listen. I'm cool with fighting the woke agenda. I'm cool with fighting the woke agenda, and I'm cool with fighting the deep state. But you got to fight it all the way around. You can't let the Republican be bad guys and only fight the Democrats, because there's only like 2 or 3 Democrats in Indiana that are the bad guys, folks. If there's a problem in Indiana politics, right now, chances are it's a Republican. I think Braun will be worse than Holcomb. I think that Braun will be worse than Holcomb. The other, I don't know what the other side is doing. We don't have Democrats in the state of Indiana. Not Democrats that win. I mean, there's a Democrat candidate, but she's not going to come close. She's not going to come close. It's going to be just an absolute shit show. The Indiana Capitol Chronicle also put out a really interesting article. And I think that this is something that makes my blood boil. Non-voters cite disillusionment, candidates, and complexity. And this is by Leslie Muniz. Aaron Landis wants to vote, but a state program meant to protect her and her 5 children from a domestic abuser has complicated her access to the polls. Landis, who describes herself as a centrist Democrat with union roots, last tried to vote several years ago. It did cause a lot of chaos the last time I tried to vote, she told the Capitol Chronicle. Clerks couldn't give me a straight answer. I went through so many people just trying to call office after office, explaining the same story, and no one could help me. Landis doesn't know if her vote was ever even counted. Her true address is shielded by the Address Confidentiality Program, the initiative administered by the Office of the Indiana Attorney General, which seeks to protect survivors of domestic abuse, stalking, sexual assault, human trafficking, and other offenses, which is a great program. A confidential post office box nearly 3 hours away has served as the family's official address for about a decade, Landis said. The P.O. box is what's listed on their identification cards, which are required to vote in Indiana. The program changes how participants vote, according to the Secretary of State's office. Trying to use my ID for anything is an issue, Landis said. It's meant to provide safety for my family and myself, but it's more of a burden. The 46-year-old and her voting age children are among the million-plus eligible Hoosiers who just don't participate in elections. You mean we cannot figure this out for these people? Like, look, I get what she's saying, and I get what a problem this would be. This is insane. Indiana's voter turnout sank to 50th out of 51 in ranking of the U.S. states in the District of Columbia. Dude, we are in last freaking place in the 2022 midterm elections, according to the most recent Indiana Civic Health Index. The state landed at just 46 in the continuous 2020 election. The contentious 2020 elections. Other Hoosiers show less interest in voting. The plurality of more than 1,000 respondents, 38%, told the Indiana Community Action Poverty Institute that they didn't know enough about the candidates or issues to vote in a survey conducted on November 2023 to February 2024. Well, I'm sorry, but if you are 20 years of age or older and you can't figure out information about the people in your... Now, granted, I understand that specifically local candidates make it very hard for people to learn things about them because they don't want to do interviews. They don't want to do debates. They half of them don't go knocking door to door anymore. Some of them don't put up signs. That's crazy. And I'm mad at these individual people. Look, if you don't vote because you have a principled reason, and like Jack, I don't know if Jack's on here or not. Jack off Jack. I don't think that his reason is valid. I think he thinks it is. But I think I could argue it down away from him. I'd like to talk to him face to face, voice to voice, and have an actual argument, not with delayed response and texting. It's real too hard to do that almost. Too dangerous to go door to door. No, it is not too dangerous to go door to door. We have done that for years. It's very easy. Don't do it at 5 o'clock in the morning. Don't do it at 9:30 at night. There's a big chunk of the daytime when you can go do it. There's lots of Saturdays during the election season where you could go do it. That is nuts. I don't know what you mean. I mean, explain to me what you mean by that. It's too dangerous. It's too dangerous for who? That's nuts. When did it become too dangerous? Like specifically, let me tell you. Why is it too dangerous? When did it become too dangerous? How did it become too dangerous? And if that's the case, we've got we are in a very serious world hurt, and we need some major changes. I walked a petition a couple of years ago. I'd never do it again. Where did you walk, Tweety Bird? I've walked for years, door to door in Indianapolis. I've done it in Muncie, all over Muncie. I mean, look. Obviously, there are some common sense level things that you need to do. I never would have a people where I would have females walk alone. I always would have people walk in pairs. And make sure that they have a cell phone on them, a cell phone that is charged and can call, and they know where they're at, and you're doing it. You know, you have a plan of action. You go up, you try, if you see anyone in the property, you try to talk to them before you approach the property, telling them what you're doing. If you walk up to the door and you knock on the door, if it says no trespassing, no whatever, you just leave it. Don't put anything in the mailbox. That's not something you should do. Put it in the door handle. If you get any weird vibes, if the hair on the back of your neck stands up, just pass the door on by. But walk up to the doors. If someone gets an attitude with you, I've walked up to doors and had people yell and cuss me out. I've had somebody show me a gun before. They didn't point it at me. They just showed a gun. I said, thank you, and walked away. Gun can't shoot me when it's in a holster in someone's pocket. I get it. And there are things that people could be unsafe about. And there are things that you would need to be cautious. But I don't know. Speaking of females walking alone, we even had 2 young female Mormons pass through recruiting for their church. That's nuts. Yeah, that's I don't know.
I think the people that will probably be most at risk for the door-to-door knocking would be the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. If you walk up and somebody is mad or screaming, sorry, thank you, tear it up, don't vote, whatever, and walk away. I don't know. I'm just going to tell you, you cannot win an election. We're not to a point where you can win an election just with social media. That's just not gonna. That's just that can't happen yet. We're not there. Maybe it'll happen one day, but it's not anytime soon. Some confess, back to this article, some confess they didn't know how or where to vote in written responses to the Institute, which shared its survey with the Indiana Capitol Chronicle. The organization administered the poll to thousands of current and former clients as a part of community needs assessments, so that most respondents earn at or below 200% of the federal poverty level. Director Aaron Macy said, this year that's about $62,000 for a family of four. Linda Hansen, who leads the nonpartisan League of Women Voters Indiana chapter, said traditionally poor civics education has likely contributed to voting eligible population that feels uninformed about candidates, issues, and even the mechanics of voting. And I understand that. That's a horrible, horrible thing. That is sad. We have a sad state of affairs with civics in today's school, but you cannot count on the school. You got to do it. Parents got to do it. If you got children, you got to start telling them how important this stuff is. You got to start getting them involved, folks. She said that's why the league created a website guiding users through registering to vote. That's why I push it so hard. Checking their registration, finding out who's on the ballot, and accompanying handbooks lays out who's your voting rights and governance structures at the local, state, and federal levels. Riley Cho says who's on the ballot. Riley knows who's on the ballot, but doesn't like the options. Marion County residents who reported leaning a little bit left of moderate Democrat said candidate quality is key. Absolutely. But the only way that we're going to get there, folks, is if people get involved to the point that we get enough people involved so that out of those people that are involved, there can be a handful of people that run, that we can point to those people to win. Those people can win on the local election level. They can do a couple terms in city council, in county council, county commissioners. They can then farm themselves up to the state level and then can farm themselves up to the national level. The reason our benches are so narrow because we continue to gatekeeper politics. We continue to do gatekeeper politics. And that throws it back to my thing about Micah Beckwith. We're going to talk to Micah tomorrow about that, about the establishment, about fighting, pushing back on this idea that he fought against for the last year up to, and then when he actually was fortunately able to beat Julie McGuire. Gatekeeper politics, this idea that we're only going to allow the people that Ed likes to be in politics. We're only going to let the chosen few beautiful people play. That's not how it works. Ed doesn't get to decide that. Russ Willis doesn't get to decide that. Ben Wells doesn't get to decide that. Mike Braun doesn't get to decide that. Jennifer McCormick doesn't get to decide that. Todd Houston doesn't get to decide that. Marion County resident who reported leaning a little bit left of the moderate Democrat said candidate quality is key. The 20-year-old described participating in 2 elections thus far and volunteering with political efforts, but their vote isn't a guarantee. I have submitted a ballot with entries left blank as in votes of no confidence. And that's good too. People can do that. You got to know that you can do that. She is deeply critical of Indianapolis Mayor Joe Hogsett, as she should be. Joe Hogsett is a joke. His administration, by extension, the Indiana Democratic Party, is very bad. Allegations of sexual misconduct against the top aide and other staffers, first reported in the Indianapolis Star and Mirror Indy, have rocked the deep blue city. Having to choose a party that lets sexual assault go unpunished because my rights could go away if the other side wins, she says. It doesn't make me excited to vote. Hogsett's not on the ballot in November, but other Democrats are. Riley described scrutinizing how gubernatorial nominee Jennifer McCormick and other candidates have reacted to the allegations. I'm not even sure I've heard most of these other Democrats react to these allegations. They plan to vote, but won't necessarily complete the ballot, which is fine. Respondents in the Institute's survey thought similarly, with one writing, all candidates are basically the same, and another adding, they're all liars. Other reasons. Respondents in the Institute survey could pick multiple reasons for not voting. About 35% said they felt like their vote doesn't matter. We've got to get away from that mindset. We've got to get away from that mindset. Hansen said line drawing strategies have contributed to the state's notoriously uncompetitive districts. I agree. She recounted how software advancements in the early 2000s let ruling parties across the country, Republicans and Democrats, further entrench themselves during the 2011 redistricting cycle. That election changed the dynamics in our legislature. Absolutely it did. So that it wasn't like 50 or 60%. It was 80% of one party, Hansen said. That in itself helped to squash competition. And this is, I think, what contributes to the lack of voter interest. Hansen said her group has been encouraging voters to participate in primary elections since, she said, that's when electoral competitiveness peaks in Indiana. But only about 16% of non-voting survey takers said they didn't have time to vote. Indiana has eliminated election day polling hours, Indiana has limited election day polling hours from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., and many counties further limit hours and locations for early in-person voting. Limited voting hours were also a barrier cited by Hansen. In Delaware County, for example, there is one place for all of that month for early voting. One place in all of Delaware County, Hansen said. It's at the county courthouse. Hansen, who teaches at Ball State University, said she told students it's not a bad walk. What? It's not really, for Ball State students, but if you live in Gaston, or you live in Yorktown, or you live in Albany, you're not walking to Delaware County. That's to the building. That's nuts. Those wanting to vote by mail must qualify for one of 17 excuses listed in law. Lying on the application is a crime. Right. But do you know how easy it is to not be around on election day? And if you have a valid reason to not be around on election day, you can do a vote in mailing ballot. It's not that hard, folks. This is not rocket science. A small percentage of survey respondents cited criminal records as a reason of avoiding the polls, with one writing, felons can't vote. Many states bar convicted felons from the ballot box. However, Indiana isn't among them. As long as a prospective voter isn't physically behind bars during election season, they are eligible. That thing kills me. That is, to me, Diego Morales or anyone who's in the Indiana Secretary of State's office, they need to take their entire budget for next year for each off year and they need to blast that out for an entire year. Felons can vote. Felons can vote. We need to do so much better teaching people how and what to do and how to go about it, how to get involved. We need to stop doing shit like they're doing in Madison County, making people feel like they're going to get locked up for asking questions or locked up for addressing their government. We got to get people to get involved and be happy to be involved. It's absolutely insane. This is something that's not just your right earned by people dying for it, but it's also your responsibility. Because if we're going to have a democracy work, it's every one of us that has to be involved. Okay, whatever. She added, you're paying taxes, and that tax money is going to be spent by the people you elect or that you don't elect. Don't you want to have a say in who's going to make those decisions? Landis, meanwhile, said she will try to vote again. Man, I wish I could contact this person, because I understand the problem that she's dealing with, and we could take care of that. And I cannot believe that there's a million other people just like her. That's crazy. Just like her, 1 million people who have protected addresses who are having a hard time voting because of that. The fact that we don't have a legislator that's trying to work on that to better that situation, that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. What are we talking about here in the comments? So okay. That brings us to, let me click that off. That brings us to the last two things that I wanted to just touch on just briefly. And that are number one, Jamie Knoll was sentenced to spend 12 years in prison today. It's like that whole big long ordeal is nearing completion. Now his wife and daughter, and they have some things that are still hanging over their heads. This is a really weird situation because he took this plea deal and he really didn't get anything out of it. So it's really funky what happened here, because like you figure he would have been like, look, I'll do whatever, just leave my wife and my kid alone. But he's like, nah, all right, they're, to each their own. So the plea deal accepted Jamie Knoll to spend 12 years in prison for misusing millions of taxpayer dollars. For those of you that don't know or are not familiar with this, this is the former sheriff of Clark County, Jamie Knoll, who will serve more than a decade in prison after a judge accepted his plea deal on Monday. The former Clark County sheriff pled guilty to 27 felonies back in August for stealing millions in taxpayer dollars to fund a lavish lifestyle. As part of his deal, he'll spend 12 years in the Indiana Department of Corrections and 3 years on probation. And man, for a former police, that is no good. Those probation years must be spent in Washington County, the community he served. Former Clark County sheriff must be spent in Washington County, the community he served. I don't know what the deal is. Did he serve Clark County or Washington County? That's weird. He must also pay more than $3 million in restitution. During his sentencing, he faced many of his victims and gave a tearful apology on the stand. They were victims of my deceit, just like anyone else. I beg you, forgive me. Noel said to the victims, I do not look forward to this 12 years in prison if you accept this plea, Judge, but I understand why I'll be spending this time in prison, and I accept it. Man, that is wild. He also cried in court as his late brother's wife read a letter from his niece about the money he stole from their inheritance. What an absolute just despicable human being. At least 10 people testified in Monday, and they discussed how delayed ambulances led to citizens dying. Jail deaths occurred due to low manpower and lack of trained officers, political abuse of power, and overworked EMS workers. Special Prosecutor Rick Hurdle spoke after the hearing. At least in my eyes, the grip that Jamie Noel had on this community is over. Noel, 53, was elected sheriff of Clark County in 2015 as a Republican, and his term ended in 2022. He also oversaw the nonprofit Utica Township Volunteer Firefighters Association, New Chapel EMS. He was arrested last November, and around 70 search warrants have been served at various properties and businesses since then. The charges he pled guilty to are corrupt business influences, obstruction of justice, money laundering, official misconduct in 4 counts, tax evasion 5 counts, and 15 counts of theft. Noel used the money from New Chapel EMS to buy flights, cigars, private planes, cars, sports tickets, and more. He used it to pay for child support for the child he had with a woman outside of his marriage. He bought trips and concert tickets for council members. His daughter Casey and wife Misty are accused of spending money on personal things as well. Both of their trials are being continued from October 28th. They will instead have status conferences on that day. And they are both looking at doing some time as well. I would say they won't be facing nearly as much, but they will be both looking at doing some time. And then finally, before we leave tonight, in the very last thing, and it's also crime-related news, specifically crime-related news out of Indiana, and that is the fact that finally, after all of this time, finally, a jury has been selected in the Delphi murder trial. It's absolutely amazing. I have been part of that process a lot of different times for a lot of different things. Probably the biggest 2 cases I've ever been involved with have been the cold case murder trial of Teresa French. Teresa French was killed in May of 1993. I was 11 years old. I remember when that happened. It scared the hell out of me. I remember when the rumors would fly that it was Tony French. I remember seeing Tony French around town and being scared to death of him as a kid growing up. And then I remember being a police officer in 2007 and being part we're talking about GW being part of the deal when that was all coming to a head, when the confidential informant finally came clean and the arrest was made on both Tony and Jess David Woods. Jess David Woods was living in Redding, California at the time, and they had lived for 16 years without punishment. And when the SWAT team kicked in the door, it was set up to where the arrest would take place at the exact same time. So Tony French, the soon-to-be ex-husband that had the wife killed, and the murderer, Jess David Woods, would be arrested at the same time. And when the SWAT team busted in his house, Jess David Woods had enough time. He picked up a gun and he aimed it. He pointed it at a detective and he fired it. And it was a misfire in that gun. And that's a pretty crazy deal. But then I left the police department, went to the prosecutor's office, and that was like the first trial, the first big 2 trials I worked on in the prosecutor's office. And that was a wild, wild deal. And it went on. It was a very long time. Most trials are like 2 or 3 days, big cases like that. But sometimes you get trials that go on for like weeks. And what's really crazy is to think about the O.J. Simpson trial that went on for like a year or something like that. That was insane. But this Delphi murder trial is going to be interesting. And it says, as of 4:54 today, Delphi murder trial selection ends after a day of revelations. A jury has been chosen in the murder trial against the man charged in the 2017 killings of Delphi teens Abigail Abby Williams and Libby German. The final members of the jury were picked just before 3:30 p.m. Tuesday in Allen County, rounding out the group of 16 people who will decide the fate of accused killer Richard Allen. So there's obviously 12 jurors and then four alternates. I can't believe that's all they picked. I figured they would have done 20 at least. According to media reports from the courtroom, the panel will now head to Carroll County to sequester in a hotel through the end of the trial, which is slated to continue through November 15th. Wow. Okay, this is going to be a big deal. I need to drive up there and go watch some of this. Opening statements start on Friday, the 18th. The seating capped off a day filled with surprise revelations, including Carroll County prosecutors asking to bar the defense from presenting prior sketches of the potential suspects, and the defense stating a hair found in Williams' hand did not match their clients. Allen was charged in 2022 with 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of murder while kidnapping in the killings of the girls. Prosecutors allege the girls were walking along the trails east of the city on February 13th, 2017, when they were forced off the bridge and led to a creek before being killed. The allegation was just the first in the new developments revealed Tuesday. In a motion filed Tuesday, the state requested the court to bar widely publicized sketches of possible suspects from the trial. 2 sketches appearing to show different men were released by authorities during the Delphi investigation. One in July of 2017, the other in April of 2019. The drawings, along with cell phone video captured on German's phone, are among the few glimpses of the suspect released to the public. In the motion, Carroll County Prosecutor Nicholas McClellan, which I think has absolutely been disastrous in this. I think that he shoulders so much blame. Him and the judge have both been absolute jokes in this. It's disaster. A prosecutor is not supposed to go hard just for the conviction. They are supposed to look for the truth and go for the way that the truth and that the evidence points them. And I don't believe that he's done that. I think that he's had a hard on in this case the whole time. And I believe that he has been inappropriate. I just cannot believe. It's crazy. He argued that a composite sketch was not relevant. Admission would result in undue prejudice, confuse, or mislead the jury, or is impermissible hearsay. And the witnesses who participated in the preparation of the composite sketches will not be presented by the state for the purpose of in-court identification of the defendant. A ruling about the sketches had not been made at the time of this article's publication, and I don't know if it has been or not. I am interested in cases like this and whatnot. I specifically have followed very little to anything of this. The only thing I have followed of this case have been the actual screw-ups of actually the state. So I've followed the judge's screw-ups and the prosecution screw-ups. Other than that, I know very little of what goes on in the case. So I'm going to watch it from the point of view of being, I could be a juror in this case because I know very little about it. And I could clearly have said that. And I would have been very impartial. I would have listened and let the facts lead me where they go. At the start of Tuesday, the case needed 2 alternative jurors out of Allen County to complete the 16-member jury. 3 jurors were then dismissed, dwindling the number to 11. 1 was dismissed over health concerns. Another juror dismissed cited child care issues. It's unclear why the 3rd was excused. Let's see here. By 3:30 p.m., the final jury selection was made. Allen appeared in court handcuffed, wearing a baby blue button-up shirt, khakis, pants, and glasses on top of his head. The panel is being chosen from roughly 300 Allen County people, summoned as prospective jurors. Special Judge Francis Gall previously decided the group should come from another county versus selecting from Delphi, a town of only 2,961 people, to ensure impartiality and Allen's rights to a fair trial. This will be an interesting thing to watch. So it's going to definitely be interesting. I have always said that I don't believe, that thing that they always call him Bridge Guy, and they've always said that he says, go down the hill, go down the hill. I don't think that he actually says go down the hill. I think it's like pareidolia. I think it's something that we're hearing and that people have said. So now we're all like, yeah, it says go down the hill. I think it's like turn me on, dead man. I buried Paul, cranberry sauce. It's all like that backmasking stuff. We don't know what's actually said. Who knows? Maybe it did, but I don't believe it says that. So yeah, look at the Ashley Morris Mullis. GW, if you're interested in that, I actually interviewed Don Morris back. That he was like my 6th interview ever on Perception is Reality. I'll send you the link to that if you're interested. It's very interesting. I talked to Don. I like Don. I'm a good friend of Don. Yeah, I think about that frequently. Very, very sad. He was competent enough to hold a prominent job, but he's playing incompetent in jail. Yeah, he's very, very strange character, this guy that they have locked up there. It's going to be really weird to see where this case goes. And I sadly do not believe that he's going to get... This is going to be a sad case. I don't believe, number one, that he's going to get a fair trial. I do not believe that the victims' families are going to have closure. I think that this is going to be a performance that the prosecution and the defense and the judge and the witnesses are all participating in. And who the hell who the hell knows what's going to happen at the end of this. I can see this case getting a hung jury. Yeah. It was the 6th. That's crazy. It was the 6th. I thought it was somewhere around there, but I wasn't sure. That's nuts. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us tonight, folks. We have kind of clicked through another Bizarro show, but we've covered a lot of different stuff. Tomorrow, unfortunately, we get back to work. So thank you for going along on this ride. Hope you guys have learned some things. Please consider giving us click a bell, do something like that. Flip us off, finger, thumb, whatever. You know what to do. Do it. We will be live tomorrow, live on location at 6 p.m. in Muncie at the Muncie City Council meeting. So please tune in for that. And then tune in tomorrow night at 9 p.m. to hear our interview with the Republican candidate for Lieutenant Governor, Mr. Micah. Don't call me he or she or them or ma'am, Beckwith. And we'll talk with him. And I hope you all tune in for that. That'll be right at 9 p.m. Eastern. So you guys take care. God bless. And have a good night. Goodbye.